Hello and welcome back to True Crime Guys podcast. I'm Michael.
And I'm Andy.
Welcome back, Andy. I'm glad to have you here, brother.
I'm still kicking, man. I still got 9 good fingers to work with.
Hey, that's all we need. You don't need any fingers in podcasting. That's a beautiful thing.
And I keep thinking of that Sons of Anarchy character only has the 2 fingers left. He's like, I got 2. That's all you need to type with.
That's it. But guys, we are back from our Patreon exclusive last week where we covered Eldon Samuel, the zombie killer. If that's not enough intrigue to get you to check it out, I don't know what will. And we're also back on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification button so you will know when new episodes drop every single Wednesday. As well as new episodes of Strange and Unexplained every single Monday, okay? Also, please consider checking out patreon.com/truecrimeguys. It is the wheels of the podcast right now, guys. That's a great way to help the show and support what we do here at True Crime Guys. We appreciate it very much. I also want to give a quick announcement about our recent episode of Headlines and Shenanigans last week. If you guys haven't heard, we talked about Danny Masterson of that 70s show fame, as well as Fleece Johnson from the Boondocks.
Well, actually, from real life fame, and then from the Boondocks.
Yeah.
From real life infamy to fictional infamy.
Yes. 2 unignorable stories in the headlines this past week. Again, that is available in video form on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. But this week, just a fair warning, another warning, we do have violence towards children again. This just so happens to be these cases. I didn't realize that so many of them had so many young victims, especially the Eldon Samuel case that we covered last week. At first glance, sometimes all of that doesn't become clear. But either way, here we are. This week we're covering Katie Coleman. Katie Coleman. A strange case. There's a lot of twists and turns in this case. And I think you guys are going to find it quite interesting. And there's not a lot out there about Katie right now. Another reason we decided to cover this case, guys, we're trying to be on the current, on the up and up in true crimes. We can be your source for what's out there, what's coming down the pipe, and whatnot. So just to kind of set the scene here, in January of 2005, in the town of Crothersville, Indiana, 10-year-old Katie Coleman disappeared after going to her local dollar store, which was a Dollar General, which was only a short distance from her home. Now, this was pretty routine for Katie, and her mother felt pretty good about it as well, because Crothersville was a small town with low crime rates where neighbors typically looked out for each other. But despite the community's best efforts to find her, Katie never returned home that afternoon. All right, guys, so it's never a good sign when we start the episode with the body being found already. But this case has so many twists and turns that it just makes sense. Young Katie's body was discovered 5 days later in a creek in the Cypress Lake area, approximately 19 miles from her home. Her hands were found tied behind her back with a slip knot, which is a knot that tightens the more you try to pull and struggle. And reports confirmed that Katie died by drowning, and there was also signs that she was sexually assaulted before being thrown into the creek. So, let's back up to the morning that Katie disappeared. That was a Tuesday, January 25th, 2005. 10-year-old Katie Coleman began her day following her usual routine, which included breakfast with her family before heading off to school. She was in an especially good mood this week because she had a sleepover planned the very next day with some of her best friends from school. But the day went on without much excitement until the school bell rang at 2:30, signaling the end of class. Katie arrived home around 3 p.m. and spent some time with her mother, who was making dinner. Sometime during their conversation, Katie's mom mentioned that they were running low on toilet paper and needed to get some soon. So, eager to help out as always, and of course to grasp any straw of independence at that age, right? Katie immediately volunteered to go to the store. Now, I can relate to this. My son is 14 and he already wants to drive. He's like, Dad, can I drive on the property? Can I drive?
Can I get out of the barn?
Just hold on a second, okay? But Katie left her house and walked down the familiar path towards the Dollar General store. And it was only a block and a half away. And remember, this was nothing new for Katie. Like I said, she had made this trip down to the store countless times. And Crothersville was the kind of place where doors were unlocked at night. Children roamed freely. This was no big deal. However, unbeknownst to anyone, this false sense of peace was about to be shattered in the most devastating way imaginable. when a 911 call came in from Katie's father.
County Sheriff's Department. How can I help you, please?
Yes, ma'am. I need to report my daughter missing.
Is she missing or did she run away?
No, she's missing.
And what was she wearing?
She has on a light blue coat, black pants with white stripes.
Okay.
So after making the call, Katie's parents, they tried to retrace her steps to the best they could, and they confirmed that she had purchased toilet paper at the Dollar General and left the store and began walking home at around 3:40 p.m. Now, several neighbors in the area reported seeing Katie around 4 p.m. walking along the train tracks towards her house. Now, based on this information, Katie should have arrived home just shortly after 4. Now, despite her absence, her mom really wasn't that worried because Katie often stopped to chat with friends along the way, and it wasn't really unusual for her to play around a little before returning home.
It is it's a weird thing to think of in this day and age now.
Yeah.
Like just to send your 10-year-old down to the store, how many, miles, blocks away,
Right,
and then
right.
for them not to come right back and to not have their phone, be like, where are you at? Where are you at?
Yeah,
it's such
exactly.
a crazy thing now as parents, but this was not so uncommon. It's
No,
just
it really
weird.
was. I mean, and there's plenty of small town America, where there are certain areas, even here in my hometown, that I feel like I'm safer, like you have that illusion of safety, right? Because you feel like you know more people, you grew up there, you've been around that area so many times without anything happening, but it really only takes once. It only takes once, and it only takes one wrong person being in the wrong place, wrong time. But 6 o'clock eventually rolled around, and there was still no sign of Katie, but her mom was still not that concerned, and let me tell you why. She said that sometimes a family member would often take Katie to the mall if they happened to pass her or saw her walking to the shop. Okay, hell no.
No.
I don't care, family member or not. I don't care if my own dad picks up my kids without me knowing. I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, it's like that's just, especially back in the day when there was no
No.
cell phones, there's no way to let your parents know, because it's like, hey honey, how are you? Oh, I was supposed to go to the Dollar General and get some toilet paper. You want to go shopping with me instead?
Right.
Sure, your parents aren't going to be worried about that.
They aren't going to think a thing about it.
I've got to run
No.
several errands today. Come on, I could use the company.
Exactly. Yeah, no way, man. No way. If I don't know where my kids are, that's a problem. That is a problem. However, when 7 p.m. arrived and they still hadn't heard from Katie or anyone who was supposed to have been with her, the family grew pretty worried and began making calls to see if anyone had seen her. And with no luck, they finally decided to call the police. Now, initially, the police were hesitant to declare Katie missing. They live in the same small town too, right? This is not a normal occurrence. They believed that she might have been at a friend's house or possibly ran away. Kidnappings were extremely rare in this area, so they fully expected Katie to return.
It's like when cops, like a serial killer comes on the edge, like, or seeing that, like, we don't want to talk, we don't want to acknowledge that we never have that. It's like kidnapping, crime was so small, like so rare in this
Yes.
area. They were like, no kids actually go missing. Come on, like, look at her. Like, there's a kid right there. I know his
Yep.
parents. It's just strange.
It is. But regardless of all that, the community and her parents still suspected foul play, so they knew at this point something was not right. Katie wasn't the type to run away, and it was unusual for her to be out so late. In response, the community organized a search party of over 120 people and began looking for Katie. So after searching for 18 hours with no leads, the police realized that Katie wasn't just at a friend's place. They officially declared her missing and devoted all available resources to the case.
That is a big group of people to gather in that short amount of time back then.
It
too.
really
Like,
is. Well, they were a tight-knit community, though.
Yeah,
you know?
it does attest as a testament to the strength of the community and how tight knit
Well,
that place was. To
right.
gather that many people for a 10-year-old girl or whatever, in like how many hours? Like 6 hours almost. To be like,
Yeah.
that's no Facebook, that's no texting, that's phone calls, that's running
That's
them, banging
phone
on
call- yep,
doors.
that's exactly right. But this is huge news for this community. This is drop what you're doing, let's find Katie news for this type of community. And 2 days later, their persistence paid off. A neighbor contacted the police, claiming to have seen Katie riding in the passenger seat of a white Ford F-150 pickup truck between the hours of 4:30 and 5 o'clock. Now, the witness couldn't identify the driver, but was absolutely certain that Katie was in that passenger seat. According to the witness, the driver was a white male between the age of 18 and 22 and had a slender build. Now, a composite image of the suspect was created, and the public was urged to provide any relevant information to the police.
Got it. If you see that sketch, it's hard to be like, oh, this is somebody I know. It's the most generic.
It's generic, right?
It's like the most generic digitally created face. It's not even hand drawn, so you don't even have like the pencil shadings. It's just, yes, that is white male, I guess.
Yeah, we know that guy.
We know that man.
The problem is, who doesn't, right? But in the meantime, the police conducted a thorough search of records for all owners of a white Ford F-150 living in the vicinity at the time, and then cross-referencing this list with registered sex offenders, which makes sense, right? Each individual on this combined list was visited by the police, where they were required to provide a statement and a satisfactory alibi. Imagine having a white F-150, being a sex offender, and not having an alibi for this.
Isn't this is this Indiana, right?
That is bad news. Yeah.
This is rural Indiana, and being like, we need everybody with a white F-150, and just the printer just. It's like, shit.
It's like a grocery receipt.
It's like a CVS receipt or something.
Yeah, right. Seriously. But however, once again, there were no promising leads from checking out all of the pedophiles that owned F-150s. In a plea to the person responsible for Katie's abduction, her family urged them to release her and allow her to return home safely. 5 days after Katie Coleman was reported missing, on January 30th, 2005, a state trooper made the decision to search the Cypress Lake area again, approximately 19 miles from Katie's residence. Now, this location had gained notoriety, attracting individuals involved in illegal drug activities and all sorts of things. So as soon as the trooper arrived at the lake, he noticed an object floating near a culvert. Upon closer examination, he recognized it was Katie's blue jacket. His worst fears were confirmed when he approached and discovered Katie's lifeless body face down in the water with her hands tied behind her back. Now, this scene was tragic and brutal, and no doubt leaving a lasting impact on the small-town officer who found her. And the news of Katie's murder sent shockwaves throughout the community of Crothersville, forcing residents to confront the horrifying reality that a murderer still lived among them.
Yeah.
Authorities believed that the killer must have been a local, as the location where Katie's body was found was pretty remote and primarily only known to those familiar with the area. The police investigated numerous individuals and pursued countless leads in their search for a breakthrough. However, despite their efforts, they were unable to make any progress. But then, unexpectedly, on the third day following the discovery of Katie's body, a person came forward and confessed to the murder of Katie Coleman, turning the entire case upside down.
That's always the police's, like, that's just the luck of the draw. They're like, oh my God, yeah, you just came in. We didn't have to do anything. This is, wonderful. Thank you so much. This makes our day so much easier.
Can we just go ahead and arrest this guy and throw him in prison?
This is great. Thank you. No,
go get a coffee.
No further questions, right?
That's right. No further questions. Unfortunately not.
Oh, yeah.
There's
always a follow-up question.
There is always. But let's learn about this fella that came forward, right? So on February 2nd, 2005, Chucky Hickman walked into the Indiana Police Department and admitted that he was responsible for Katie's murder. Now, Chucky is a 20-year-old resident of Crothersville, so it fits the age, right? They said 18 to 22. He's right in the middle, and had a reputation as an eccentric fella, and was also known to be addicted to methamphetamine. That's definitely a rural term right there. Usually a southern, that's a way to say that somebody is weird and off their rocker, right? That's what they say. Well, he's an eccentric fella.
He's eccentric.
He's a little, how you say eccentric? When a southern person calls you eccentric, that is not a good deal.
It's not a compliment.
That is not a compliment. It's kind of like a bless your heart type of deal. But yeah, Chucky was an eccentric fella, I guess, here in rural Indiana. According to Chucky, he and his friend were at an apartment building where Katie had stopped to visit one of her friends after leaving the Dollar General. Apparently, Katie saw Chucky and his friend making meth or doing meth or something to do with meth. Either way, they were worried that Katie might expose their drug activities, right? So they decided to frighten her into silence. They then tied her up, drove her to the lake where the unfortunate incident occurred, and where Katie apparently slipped and drowned in the water, according to Chucky.
That's always, we bound her hands. We took her to this remote body of water, and then she fell in and drowned.
Man, she just fell in.
I mean, we couldn't do anything to help her. I mean,
right?
Yeah, it's always the greatest thing. She fell in. Okay.
Right? It just doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, if you just wanted to scare her, why didn't you jump in and get her and untie her? But regardless, this shocking revelation left the small community of Crothersville in disbelief, to say the least. They did though take solace in knowing that the killer had finally been apprehended. Isn't that a nice ending, Andy?
As like I said, no further questions.
That's
Your Honor.
it. That's
no
pretty
follow-up
much
questions.
Yeah. Except they were still testing the DNA at the crime scene.
Right. There was some of that.
There's that. So let's check with the DNA. Let's just make sure everything tracks, So just a short time after Chucky's confession, the crime lab had just finished up the analysis of the DNA samples taken from Katie's body and the rest of the crime scene. Now, despite being immersed in water for 5 days, the freezing temperatures of the lake actually managed to preserve the DNA evidence on Katie's body
This is
instead of diluting it.
January 25th, middle of Indiana. I'm sure it's a bit chilly right now.
Yes, and let me tell you what was found. Traces of semen were discovered on the body, indicating, like I referenced earlier, that she had been sexually assaulted before thrown into the water. Now, here's the even crazier part. When the DNA found on Katie's body was compared to a sample taken from Chucky Hickman, guess what, Andy?
There's probably a further questions here, isn't there?
There is further questions. It did not match at all.
Oh, God.
And yeah, so they pretty much were like, okay, you got some serious problems, but you're not involved in this. Like,
yeah, they had to come out and
out of all the cases to come forward about, why would you come forward with that? There's nothing more that I could find on Chucky Hickman. How is he involved, Andy?
It seems like it's like almost like he's trying to get away, or he's either protecting somebody, or he's trying to either go into prison to hide from somebody. But it's like,
that's what I'm saying.
Why would you confess to this crime?
Well, prison is cheaper than rehab.
I mean, yes, to an extent, yes. I mean, they pay for you in prison.
Maybe he's had enough of the methamphetamines.
But yeah, to go to prison to confess to being a child killer.
Being a child killer in prison, that can't be a good way to go about it.
No, why would you? That was not a crime you'd want to confess to, especially if it's something you had nothing to do with.
Right? So, the police began questioning everyone associated with Hickman, thinking that, maybe he was involved in some way. He just wasn't there on the lake that day or whatever.
Who's this friend he was making meth with?
Yeah, exactly.
Who is this guy? Where is
exactly.
this guy?
So what they did was they got DNA samples from any of Hickman's friends as well as any other individuals who were at the apartment complex that day. Now, frustratingly enough, these samples also failed to match the DNA, leaving the police no closer to the truth. But what they did know was that Charles Chucky Hickman's confessions and incriminating statements are all bullshit. What the hell?
It's a great thing. Like, it's always, or not a great thing. It's just always a weird thing when the police have to come back out and be like, yeah, the guy who walked in the door and confessed to this really heinous crime, who actually fits the bill pretty correctly.
He kind of matched the composite enough. I think he was close enough.
He could have had his hair pulled back at the time.
Yeah, he was close enough. And then the age was spot on. But, nobody questioned whether or not he had access to an F-150 or a white F-150. Maybe he had one of those too. I don't know. Like Andy said, a white F-150 is a popular truck.
Yeah, that could have been a truck you borrowed, a work truck or something.
I was about to say, every work fleet truck, God, in America, every other one's an F-150. So, yeah, the possibility is high. But I just don't get why you would want to claim this case. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So, with no breakthrough from testing Chucky and all his buddies, the police decided to reevaluate the evidence from Cypress Lake to see if there were any potential matches to the DNA sample found on Katie's body. Now, this laborious task involved sifting through hundreds of samples. However, their efforts paid off when they finally discovered a match near the edge of the lake. Just a few yards away from where Katie's body had been found, there was a discarded cigarette butt. Okay?
Ooh, right there.
Yeah, that's right. The cigarette butts, man, they get more people than you think.
They do, man.
They get a lot of people, man.
Nobody thinks about them butts, man.
Listen, you out here committing crimes, you got to throw them cigarette butts in proper disposal areas, right? They don't say that for everyone else's protection. It's also for yours. But the DNA found on the cigarette butt was an exact match to the DNA discovered on Katie's body. Upon closer examination of the cigarette butt, it turned out to be a rarely used brand as well, known as Rogers 100 cigarettes, which wasn't widely popular at the time.
No, I'd never seen this brand before, and I used to smoke, and it's just...
I may have seen them, where you could buy it the tobacco in bulk at a smoke shop, but I don't think I've ever seen like cigarette packs of Rogers.
No, it's just like it's a very like just kind of plain pack. So I don't remember ever seeing those.
Yeah. Now, because the cigarettes were so rare, the police thought that, they could identify smokers who used this brand, then they could narrow down their list of suspects considerably. How would they do this, Andy? Maybe like a town-wide cigarette survey?
I guess, yeah. So you got to contact every place that sells cigarettes. It's like, all right, what's your most popular brand?
Yeah.
What do you sell the most of? What do you sell the least of? What do you carry?
Right.
Can I get 2 of those?
Yeah.
Because everyone, this cop is also smoking at this time. So
Yeah.
how do you do a survey to figure out, like, you have to get a lot of sales records real quick.
So, exactly. So what they did was just that. They hit the ground. They did some old detective work. They decided to visit all the stores within a 50-mile radius of Cypress Lake, and they soon learned that only 4 locations sold Rogers cigarettes. That narrows it down a shit ton.
That does
because cigarette smokers typically buy from a place close to their home. Everybody knows that.
And they are consistent.
They
pick a brand, but that also does attest to the ruralness of this community to be like, there's only this many stores in a 50-mile radius.
Yeah, that have Rogers.
That even sold the cigarettes.
That's what I'm saying. They have Rogers cigarettes.
Only 4 in that radius sold them, but like even in a 50-mile radius, they were like, there's not that many stores that sell these.
No.
Like that's how many few stores there were around there.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. So detectives wasted no time visiting these establishments, using store owners to contact them if anyone purchased that particular brand. Less than a week later, an employee from one of the stores made the call. A customer had just bought a carton of Rogers cigarettes, a whole carton, okay? So they're a big fan. And this individual was driving a white Ford F-150 pickup truck. Coincidence? I think not. The same vehicle that the witness claimed to have seen Katie in. So, the store employee also provided the police with the vehicle's plate number. And when they ran the plates, guess what name came up? Anthony Stockelman.
So not Chucky?
It's not Chucky.
Damn.
It is not Chucky.
By the way,
and as far as we know, this guy's not connected to Chucky either.
Props to this gas station employee to be like,
like I
this
said,
guy came in, got a carton of these things. I saw the truck. I got the license plate. I got it ready for you right here.
Let me tell you, that is the disadvantage. And that's also the security built in around a small town. Mm-hmm. Because small towns people ain't got nothing better going on. And when a crime like this happens, everybody's paying attention. Everybody knows about it. Everybody's talking about it. And everyone's looking out to try to solve it because they all live in this close-knit community, right?
Everybody wants to be a hero. Everybody wants to help the community.
Right. It's not like New York or LA or whatever. Everybody's minding their own business going about. If it doesn't happen in their little tiny neighborhood, they're not concerned. In this area, a 50-mile radius even, people still knew about this tragedy. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to run from it in a small town. So let's talk a little bit about Anthony Stockelman here. Stockelman was a 40-year-old factory worker who lived approximately 15 miles north of Crothersville. His life appeared ordinary. Well, he was married with kids. So whatever that means nowadays.
He was just a standard Midwestern blue-collar.
I was about to say, you listen to true crime, married with kids means absolutely nothing. BTK was married with kids. What are you saying? But the police had already questioned Stockelman after witnesses placed him in the vicinity on the day that Katie disappeared. But during his interview, Stockelman admitted to seeing Katie along the railway tracks that day, but claimed that he didn't know her whereabouts. And the officer who conducted the interview concluded that there was nothing noteworthy about Stockelman, believing him to be an unlikely suspect. And to be fair to the officer, Stockelman had no criminal record, no inclination towards violence, and no predilection towards children. In the eyes of the police, he appeared to be happily married and dedicated to raising his own kids with, like I said, with no history of crime whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But Stockelman made efforts to prove his innocence, including an attempted polygraph test where the results were inconclusive. This is kind of funny. Due to having worked the graveyard shift the previous night, Stockelman kept falling asleep during the test, rendering it incomplete.
We have your results here, and are you? Wake up! Hold on.
Listen.
Your results are drowsy. You need to get out of here.
How about a cup of coffee? Listen, how do you pass a test that you are so calm for that you fall asleep?
That's it. He volunteered.
He
for
was
this
so
too.
calm.
Yeah, he volunteered this polygraph. He goes, I'll take a polygraph test. And you're like,
yeah.
You yawning during this? What? No. Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah. The polygraph tester actually wanted to do another test, but the rescheduling never took place, and for good reason. I mean, the police had enough, right? And they weren't done with Stockelman anyways, so they returned to his residence for another round of questioning. And once again, he consistently denied any involvement in Katie's disappearance and claimed that he hadn't even gone to Cypress Lake in the last 10 years. That is a bold statement, Stockelman, when we have somebody that put you there.
Well, we have somebody that put you in not Charlottesville.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Not at the lake.
Yes, but it's like that lake is not that far away. This is a 15 you lived 15 miles from the town.
Yeah.
That lake was only 19 miles. So it's
That's correct.
And you haven't even
Probably
been,
in the same direction, if I had to guess.
Yeah, it's like you haven't even been you haven't been 19 mials from your home in 10 years.
You haven't been 4 miles from your home. It's probably most likely 4 miles. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like you haven't gone more than 20 miles from your home in 10 years, like in a radius. Like, yeah.
Everybody knows that the fish don't bite at Cypress Lake, Andy. I've been there in 10 years.
That's where all the druggies hang out.
That's right. But not only did he claim he hadn't been to the lake in 10 years, he provided an alibi for the day that Katie went missing, which his wife confirmed, and of course was the only one who could have confirmed it. And we have no idea what that alibi was, but who cares? Because the police weren't buying it, and also, DNA.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Can we get you
DNA, though, which the police did collect from Stockelman for analysis. They had more than enough reason for a warrant for his DNA. And a few days later, the results were in. And guess what, Andy? They confirmed an exact match to the samples collected from the cigarette butt and Katie's body. This is what we call dead in the water here, Andy.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean...
Yes, sir. And based on this evidence, the police arrested Anthony Stockelman and obtained a search warrant for his truck. Now, the police collected DNA swabs from his truck all over the place. The doors, the ashtray, the handles, steering wheel, multiple cigarette butts that were found inside. And through this process, they were able to confirm that Katie Coleman had indeed been in the F-150. And the only other DNA they found belonged to Stockelman himself, proving that he acted alone.
That just blows my mind more about Chucky, about coming out and confessing to this crime.
I'm telling you, I was fully expected. With a friend. Yeah, I was fully expected for Chucky to be in that truck, and maybe he held her during the thing, and he was feeling guilty, and maybe Stockelman threatened his life and was like, "If you don't take the blame for this, I'll kill you." I was expecting something, but Chucky is never mentioned again in this story.
No,
Chucky's never mentioned again in this case. It's so weird.
Yeah, it blows my mind that you would volunteer yourself because what if they had just bought that confession?
Yeah,
there is a not that big of a chance, but there's not that small of a chance either. They just take that confession.
Oh
and go.
Man, they could have in this small town. They could have swept that under the rug, and you'd never hear anything about it, and it'd go in the books, and Chucky would forever be the person that killed Katie. It's just. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, like we said, he
Thank
fit
God
the bill.
for doing the police work, just going through the motions, matching everything, right?
The town would believed it too. Like he looked.
The town accepted it.
He looked
when he
like
came through.
He looked like the type of person they thought would do this.
An eccentric fella.
Yeah, long hair, known criminal record with methamphetamines, and looks all creepy and stuff to an extent.
Yep.
So it's like, they were like, yep, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. And they pretty much had Stockelman dead in the water, but just for shits and giggles, they also took the DNA samples from the rope used to restrain Katie. And fortunately, like I mentioned earlier, the frigid temperatures of the water preserved most of it. The rope still retained traces of Stockelman's DNA, ultimately confirming his involvement in tying up Katie too. The pieces were really coming together. I mean, almost like a puzzle that does itself. But not only did they possess Stockelman's DNA on Katie's body, they provided proof of his sexual assault, and they also discovered his DNA on the rope, solidifying his role as the one who restrained her and threw her into the water. So it's pretty much cut and dry now. Moreover, the presence of the cigarette butt on the lake shore suggested that Stockelman stood by and watched Katie drown.
That's one thing that I thought too, because I thought that one of two ways. It's either you stood there and watched and smoked a cigarette, or it's I smoked a cigarette to try and calm my nerves after it happened and just was in the shock and just threw it away.
Either way, Andy, it was found feet from where her body was.
Yeah, it's like
floated
either way,
up in the culvert.
You just stood right there and looked at the body.
Yes.
So it's like either you did it while she's dying,
that is
or
correct.
you did it after she's dead. Either way, you didn't push her in and run away. It wasn't like she fell and I wasn't there. You were there the whole time.
And that also goes to show how little people go to this lake and use it. I mean, the fact that that all this was able to happen, he had time to throw her in the water and, watch her body while he smoked an entire cigarette. I mean, I mean, I don't know, maybe a couple drags and he's done with it. I don't know. This guy sounded like a chain smoker as much as he was going to get in these Rogers, but still,
Yeah,
it's so dark, especially for someone with no history of crime, no history of violence that we know of. That is very true. This may have just been the first time he got caught. That's always that is
a
correct.
Weird thing
That is
too.
the advantage of driving such a basic vehicle, like a white Ford F-150. That sounds like the exact vehicle that a serial killer would drive, because they're, like we said, they're everywhere.
But it also attests like the plannedness of this, of a local person knowing that this lake would be very likely not have people around at this time, because it's January, middle of January in Indiana.
That's correct.
This is a local man who's like, oh, I know nobody's gonna be there right now. If anybody is there, they're just junkies. No one's
Yep.
gonna believe them. So
Exactly.
yeah, it shows the planning of it. It shows the premeditation to extent of
does.
being like, oh, this wasn't just a spur of the moment. This wasn't just a passion thing.
No, absolutely not. And even with all of this evidence pointing to Stockelman, he still declined to cooperate with the police and offer his version of events. However, due to the substantial amount of evidence the investigators were able to recover, the prosecution confidently presented a clear narrative of what happened that day. According to their account, Stockelman was in the process of packing his mother's belongings as she was preparing to move houses. Now, his mother's residence is right along the path that Katie would have taken on her way to that store. Officials strongly believe that Stockelman noticed Katie walking alone and enticed her into his mother's house, taking advantage of the fact that no one else was present. I guess his mother was probably already at the new residence, setting up the things that he was moving. I'm sure he was using his truck to carry furniture and whatnot and boxes to her new residence, and she's probably there putting things away, right?
That is your responsibility as a truck owner to help your friends move. That's just the law of the land.
And your mama.
You're a truck owner. You're the guy they call.
That's right. That's right. So he basically had her house to himself during this time, right? And like I said, there were presence of red fibers that were found on Katie's body, which further supported this theory as they matched the red rug that was located in the main bedroom of his mother's house. Prosecutors alleged that after assaulting her, Stockelman then drove Katie in his truck out of town, heading towards Cypress Lake. And it was during this period that a witness reported seeing Katie in the white pickup truck. So when this witness saw her, she was tied up.
Yeah.
And
she was not in that truck willingly.
No, she was tied up and in the passenger side of this truck. I don't know if she was gagged. I don't know if she had anything in her mouth. The witness, surely if the witness was able to identify that it was Katie to that percent, which they seemed completely sure, I think they would have noticed if something was in her mouth. You know what I mean? Like as far as a gag, tape over her face, or whatever it was.
You have to think this is a 10-year-old girl who's just
But she's terrified.
She's just been assaulted.
She's in
she's
shock.
Terrified. Yeah,
she's in shock. He probably didn't have to do much at this point. Like, you've absolutely terrified her. So upon reaching the lake, the prosecution claimed that Stockelman removed Katie from the truck and coerced her or carried her into the water. And that was that. And then he stood on the shore and smoked a cigarette. Anthony Stockelman was found guilty of raping and murdering Katie Coleman on April 17th, 2005. He received a life sentence in prison without the possibility of parole. However, Stockelman's punishment did not end there. This is my favorite part of the story, Andy.
This is not even this is so
it.
much more than icing on a cake. This is street
This is like another
justice.
layer of cake on the cake.
This is street justice. I know we don't like to condone vigilantism or any kind of like taking the law into your own hands, but sometimes you just kind of go, oof, fist bump.
It's so satisfying. It's so satisfying. Shortly after being arrested, Stockelman found himself facing further consequences from his fellow inmates, because fate would have it that he ended up sharing a cell block with Katie's cousin, who was serving time for burglary.
You think that was pure fate? I've been thinking about that. The more we,
I think it's such a small town, Andy, that everyone in this town goes in the same cell block because they don't have that many.
No, he was in the same cell. That's the thing. It's like, that's what I'm wondering. I'm like, do you think this was really fate that you ended up in the same cell as Katie's cousin? Or do you think maybe somebody in this small town was like, I think I know who you should bunk with.
Right. Well, I don't know. I don't know if he was in the same cell, but they definitely had free time where their cells were open. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he could get into his cell.
He could get in there. Like I say, being in the same cell block when it's not lights out or whatever, I guess they have time to move around. But seizing an opportunity for revenge on September 22nd, 2006, Katie's cousin broke into Stockelman's cell, allegedly, and he just broke into, I'm sure somebody let him in, forcibly tattooed the words, quote, Katie's Revenge, right onto Stockelman's forehead. And it's a popular picture. I'm sure it's on the screen right now.
And that's the thing. It's neat. It's not like
it's great penmanship.
It's clear.
It's very clear.
You can read every letter, and that's the thing. It's like, how did you get him to hold still that long for that?
It's not some of that. That's what I'm saying, man. He had help. Somebody held his ass down.
You're not being able to hold a grown man down.
Somebody held his ass down.
And tattoo their forehead with that big a lettering just by yourself doing that. Like, no, it's just not going to happen.
No way. But forever, Stockelman has this permanent mark to serve as a haunting reminder of his heinous deeds every single time he looks in the mirror. I don't know if he's had it covered up. I don't know if he wears a hat all the time, maybe a bandana, maybe a skull cap. I don't know. He needs something, right?
I should have looked this up before we did this, but I wonder if this was possibly some of the inspiration for the scene in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, where the counselor or the social worker assaults the main character, and then she gets back at him by tying him down and tattooing rapist pig across his chest. And then, it's like she's saying, like, I'm going to watch your internet so you do not ever get this removed.
I think, this has just been a staple in society and revenge in the underworld for a long time. You think all the way back to when, they would make women wear a letter A for adult or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like,
branding somebody,
scarring someone on their face. It just goes way back. It's definitely a primitive practice, but in this sense, for this awful primitive crime that you've committed, he deserved it.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, it just seems so weird. You want to say fate, or do you want to say somebody may have just
that's what I'm saying
fell asleep on the job or turned their back a little bit for a little while. I'm just saying it seems very convenient in this very small town.
Yes, hey, again, the disadvantage of committing this crime in a small town because how quickly did one of Katie's family members go to the prison to visit the cousin? When this guy was arrested, how quickly did that happen? I would be visiting him the next day, be like, hey, so there's a guy about to be checking in here.
Oh, yeah. You know that guy was that cousin in prison, if he was already in prison or if he went to prison after this, like, that's another thing. It's like, I'm just going to go.
And it's
I'm going to commit a small enough crime to know where I'm going.
You're already in prison, and it's like, I don't know. It just made him a legend. I'll tell you that. Like, he went from being the family fuck up to being the family hero. I think with that one little
gesture. Family vigilante, the family Batman.
Yeah, absolutely. So there it is, guys. There it is, all tied up with a bow. I don't know what happened to Chucky. I don't know what's up with Chucky. I don't know if he's still doing meth or if he ever straightened that shit out. Somebody needs to have a long talk with him because he was very confused. And maybe he was like, dude, did we get high on meth and kill this little girl?
I can see,
you know what I'm saying? Like, he started freaking out so much where he was like, you know what? I'm just going to turn myself in and see if I did it.
I bet it was me. I bet it was me. I had these bad trip.
Who would
I thought
think
something.
That? Oh my God, dude.
I mean, yeah.
You got to be sure.
I mean, you see, Rick James being like, cocaine's a hell of a drug. I mean, methamphetamine is a hell of a drug.
It is, man. It is. And we're facing an epidemic. Meth and opioids.
It's worthy of like 8 seasons.
Yeah, for real. For real. Well, all right. So there you go, guys. There's a bow on the Katie Coleman case. It's a tough one. It really is, but it's nice to see that type of justice in society. It's nice to see someone get what they deserve.
And to think if
and good police work too. Good police work.
Yeah, like fucking hitting the pavement, just running, beating on doors, like literally hitting every store. This was 2005. This was not a time where everybody had smartphones and good computers. And
no.
This was a time where you had to go out there, but I was just like, this thing did kind of blow me away to think that you have to wonder if this was the only time this man did this. It seemed so calculated and moved, and like it seemed like he'd done it before.
It's calculated. It's dark. It's
like with the knot
performed on a child.
Yeah,
so many aspects of this case make me think it wasn't his first act of violence, but it was his first on record. It was his first on record.
Because it's such a more intimate way of taking someone's life that it didn't seem like a first time.
No.
To bind their hands and push them into a creek and watch them, it's so much more dark. So it's like, you got to wonder, is this the only time this guy's done something like this? And if not, fuck you, get that tattoo. get it bigger.
Yeah, for real.
Get it touched
For real.
up.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, hopefully that's our last violence with children case for a little while. We might take a little break from that. Next week, we're going to be back with some cult shit. Okay,
yeah.
we got a great cult case for you next week. We're excited to get back into that. But for now, on this show, I think we need an antidote, Andy.
Yeah, I think we need a bit of a palate cleanser.
We do. We need something a little lighter. What do you got for us this week?
Well, Michael, I know during the summer we had a few little run-ins with some big furry friends. We had to talk about a few stories, and we had a good little run about the laws of those people and what kind are the laws of those creatures.
Right.
Right now, I think these laws are about to take effect. Because an Ohio man recently, it was like 4 days ago when this story came out,
Right.
was charged for reporting a fake bear attack just so he could get out of the Kanawha County woods. And if you don't think that's bear crime,
That is a bear crime.
that is bear crime right there.
That is falsely accusing bears, man.
That's trying
That's
to give
messed up.
bears a bad name.
Seriously, their reputation.
That's slander?
Right? It is. They have a hard enough time at it right now.
It's
being
libel?
bears, man.
Yes.
Nobody wants to hug bears. Nobody wants to do anything good for bears. And this is not helping.
Yeah, and it's about to be winter time. They need all the help they can get right now, guys. They got to find some food. They got to find some good shelter.
Seriously.
Opens up some storage
People
units,
aren't
guys.
picnicking that much.
There's not more picnic baskets.
There's not.
But guys, this right here, it just made me giggle to think about this man who thought this was
So-
the way that you get out of the woods. And I mean, I'll give it to him
Okay, so he was
far.
lost.
He was lost, and I will give it to him. It worked. He got out of the woods.
He's out.
He did get out. But an Ohio man is being charged for falsely reporting an incident after claiming he had been attacked by a bear, allegedly in order to get help for himself to get out of the woods. According to a criminal complaint, the Kanawha County magistrate, first responders were called the early morning hours of Friday, September 22nd, to assist a man lost in the woods. Dispatcher said the man claimed he was injured and stranded along a steep terrain. The dispatcher said, while on the phone with the man, he said, "Please help me," calling out. And the man said that he was being attacked by a bear.
Currently.
Actively.
Yeah.
Like Leo
You
DiCaprio
think he
in
was
The
like
Revenant.
making bear noises? No, not my picnic basket.
Just breaking twigs. But the dispatcher said the man was allegedly claimed that he had been walking for days and that his phone was dying and that the bears were
There's two
were
bears.
circling him and he was
Oh,
going to
there's
die.
multiple bears.
First it was a bear, now there's bears
Also,
circling you because obviously bears hunt in packs.
What are they, buzzard bears? Man, if it's multiple bears, they're not going to wait on you to die. They're just going to kill you.
If there's multiple bears getting around you, you're fucked.
You're
they're not.
fucked, man. Not
You're
buzzard
a
bears.
dude.
Yeah, they're not scavengers.
And if you've been walking for days in the woods and your phone is still dying, what kind of phone you got? I want that battery life. But the man was later identified as Christian Leonhardt, 47, of Brecksville, Ohio. Deputies say that after several search and rescue groups responded attempting to locate Leonhardt using emergency lights and sirens to scare away any bears and point the man towards their location, authorities say they attempted to get a West Virginia State Police helicopter to assist in the search as well.
my
They were
God.
calling in
No
all like
wonder they arrested him. We wasted so much money on your lion ass.
they all just saw Cocaine Bear this past summer. Guys, they were ready. They were like, "Oh shit, it's
But
happening."
also, like, couldn't he call and just say, "I'm literally lost in the woods. I need help"?
You would
and
think-
then not be arrested. He just didn't want to swallow his pride. He wanted the story to be that he got attacked by bears
that he was running from bears,
and then
and
he
was,
got lost.
Yeah, that's the thing. I had to run from these bears, and I just didn't know where I was, and I got lost. But that's the other thing. He's like, I've been walking
It's like,
for
dude,
days.
nobody would know about this story if you just said you were lost,
Yeah, just be lost in the woods, dude. It
Yeah.
happens all the time.
Yeah.
Happens every day.
right?
But like I said, he claimed to have had a head injury. He said the bears were stalking him, and he had a head injury that caused him to be continuously bleeding. Dispatchers say they advised him
That's
to
not
apply pressure with his shirt if he was bleeding that badly. They should take his shirt off and apply pressure with it.
Right. And what do you say to that?
According to the complaint, after a 2-hour search, crews finally found Leonhardt because I guess the phone finally went dead. But once they were at his location, he allegedly denied any medical treatment from any fire or EMS crews and just wanted to ride out of the woods. So yeah, it was first
You know what,
round.
man? I just want to put all this behind me. It's just been crazy. They're like, well, did he scratch you? You don't look hurt. Or no, I don't even want to press charges on the bear. I don't even get out of here.
I don't even want to talk about it.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Me and the bear, we talked it out. Actually,
It's all good. It was a big misunderstanding.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? He actually had a picnic basket for me.
He's a nice guy. Salmon sandwiches, they were great.
So the first responders say Leonhardt walked out, was not bleeding, and had no visible injuries. Deputies say Leonhardt allegedly told them that he was just extremely intoxicated and apologized for wasting everyone's time.
Oh my God.
But that he did need to get out of the woods.
I bet.
He was arrested and charged with falsely reporting an emergency incident.
Damn.
But
see, you could have just said that you were lost, man.
Oh yeah, I guess if you're very drunk, you think that maybe they're not gonna believe me if I'm just lost. They're not gonna send anybody. I need to get out now. And if they think there's bears, they'll send the army, the National Guard.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe he was freaking out because he was like, I can't spend another minute in here. Like, I got to get out of here. I don't know where I am. I'm hearing animals around me. Maybe he was just freaking out and was like, I need to get, like you say, I need to get out of these woods now. So I need to make a more pressing situation so they won't take their time and just send, a search party of 5 or 6 people out looking for me.
Or tell me just to sleep it off in the morning and they'll come find me.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, no, I'm not spending the night out here. I need to go home now. So I need to make an emergency. And I think that's what he did.
But dude, you just put a target on your back.
That's right.
So many bear lawyers right now.
Dude.
There is going to be bear lawyers lining up to sue you for this libel, this slander. You have got yourself a lawsuit, my friend.
You do. They're going to slap the shit out of you.
They are going to claw at you. They are going to get all of your honey. There's not going to be an ounce of honey left.
They're
coming for all the honey.
That's right.
Like I said, guys, I just wanted I wanted to lift you up with a little bit more bear humor and a little bit more bear crime because there's bear lawyers.
Good bear crime.
These bear lawyers, they got a whole lot coming towards them, guys.
They got a lot to deal with, man. They got enough to deal with already, right?
Saul Goodbear.
Cocaine Bear keeps them busy alone.
I want to see Saul Goodbear.
Saul Good.
Paul.
I love Saul Goodman, man. Yeah, right.
But he would smell delicious.
Now he's Paul.
Got a nice little bear suit. Smells fresh.
Oh, definitely got a bear suit.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Nice little briefcase.
Nice brown with an off-white shirt. That'd be nice.
You are just an elegant bear, aren't you?
Oh, he's probably got some nice smelling Oh My Gaia in his pits.
Oh, yes.
He's just wooing those people in the court system.
Like I said, you thought it was the briefcase? Oh,
yeah.
No, it's him.
Oh,
he smells like that much leather.
I need to contact Wendy and Oh My Gaia, see if we can get a bear scent. Get a bear scent? That's what we need. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, Oh My Gaia is an innovative all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. Their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while still maintaining effectiveness. And like I said, at Oh My Gaia, they use only all-natural, paraben, and aluminum-free organic ingredients, guys. And there's tons of scents to choose from. Unfortunately, bear is not one of them yet, but there's some really close ones.
I mean, it depends on what bears smell like. I really don't know.
That's true.
I've got some friends who would probably give me various answers on that one. So
depending on the season, cherry almond, a bear could smell like some cherry
depending on which
almond.
Club you're in.
Yeah, maybe some, what do we got, lumberjack? That'd probably be a good bear scent.
Possibly,
I think that would be pretty fitting. And also True Crime Pine. True Crime Pine here, made for true crime guys, would be a great place to start if you don't know what scent. There's also vanilla, sandalwood, lavender, lemongrass, Egyptian musk, coconut, dreamsicle, leather, honeysuckle, fireside, bergamot, amber, pear, sweet pea, sailor, and barbershop, just to name a few. There's plenty.
Pear. That was pear.
That was pear, not bear. And because you're True Crime Guys listeners, you can use the word creeper for 15% off your order at shop_ohmygaia on Instagram or ohmygaia.com. That's OHMYGAIA.com. Guys, if you're looking for a all-natural deodorant, scented oil, or beard oil, please consider giving Oh My Gaia a try. They have been with us for years. They gave us a shot and sponsored our podcast back when we were doing it for gas money. So they've been around for a long time. They're a great company. They will do you right. Give them a shot. ohmygaia.com. Check. There's a link in the description. Again, code word creeper for 15% off.
15. 15%.
That's right. That's right. Guys, also, please, if you have time, check out patreon.com/truecrimeguys, a link right below the description as well, where for just $2 a month, you can get access to all of our Patreon exclusives, which includes Eldon the Zombie Killer that we recorded last week. And then at $5 a month, from the $5 tier, you can get access to everything we've ever created, including Sandu Stories, all the Just the Banters, Strange Shorts, Higher Thoughts, everything like that, guys. Lauren's 5-minute murder series is still available on our Patreon. So if you're missing Lauren, all those 5-minute murders with video are on the Patreon in a collection all by themselves. You go in the
the
collections, man. The collections are amazing. You click on Patreon on the homepage, and instead of clicking posts, click collections, and you can go through, and then you can listen to all of one type of audio, right? You can listen to all the 5-minute murders, or you can listen to all the TCG Patreon exclusives, dating way back to when we first started. I think the first Patreon exclusive was John Wayne Gacy. That is way back there. And we just did number 73, Eldon the Zombie Killer, which was as crazy as any of them get. And again, guys, if you're listening in podcast form and you haven't checked us out on YouTube, please do that. If you are listening on YouTube or watching, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to follow us on social media at True Crime Guys, wherever you are. And hit us up if you have case suggestions, truecrimeguys@gmail.com, or on social media, or leave a comment on a YouTube post or whatever it is.
We are responding as much as we can on those things, guys. So,
absolutely.
Please leave comments, likes, shares, whatever you can.
Absolutely. All right. I think that's pretty much it, Andy. You got anything else?
I got nothing for you, Michael.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next week for some cult shit. All right. Until then, keep creeping.
Bye.